Welcome, everybody, to the Building Aaronsburg podcast. I'm Thomas Aaronsburg.
And I'm Catherine Aaronsburg. And today we are going to talk about a personal situation we're in, which makes it feel like when it's raining, it's pouring. And then ultimately where we want to go with all of it, with our lives. I know that sounds very generic, so let's get into it. You guys, if you listen to our last episode of the podcast, it was about Callaway Gardens with this amazing week on vacation with the kids. We spent way too much money on the vacation, in our opinion, but we were like, dang it, we're going to do it. We
did it. We had a lot of fun.
And we did it, and we had a lot of fun. My iPad got stolen.
Yep.
And that was not good. And so that was weighing heavy on both of our brains. And I think mostly both of our brains, because if I had lost it myself, it would not have been weighing as heavy on your brain. I don't think.
Maybe. I feel like I'm responsible for that.
But you feel responsible,
yes.
And so that's why it's weighing on both of our brains. So when you have two parents in one family preoccupied by that in the back of their brain, that's not good. So we get home from Callaway. The next day, our refrigerator breaks.
Yep.
Then our pool starts leaking.
Yeah.
Was there anything else?
The exhaust fan in that garage area.
It stopped.
Yeah, it stopped.
So basically, we've just been going at, one thing after. It just seemed like every day, and then my phone broke.
Yes. Dropped it, screen cracked, and then the screen just blanked out.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if the screen, you drop it, and it just cracks, and you're like, crap.
Right, yeah.
It broke. Like, I'm going to,
crack.
yeah.
Well.
Oh, well, it's not in front of my camera. I use my phone for work every day, and I do a lot of Instagram videos and things like that, and that's part of the business. So I need the camera to not be blurry and fuzzy. That worked fine, and then all of a sudden it stopped working. Just the screen stopped working. So, $260 there, $100 to maybe fix the pool. It may still be leaking. Anyway, it's just like cha-ching. Every day it just seems like something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And it just feels so heavy. It just feels like, what else? Like, what else could go wrong?
Well, so some of this stuff I feel like we've caused, I guess. Like, we planned for the pool to get fixed.
Yes.
Which was a lot of money.
Yes.
We planned this vacation. Now, both of those things were planned way out.
They don't feel good still. It does not feel good to spend $10,000 on a pool repair or replaster. It does not feel good for me to spend. It's just the status of spending money, because that's my personality.
Right.
To feel that way. I think the frustrating thing about most of the other things that have happened are that they weren't things that needed to be repaired. They weren't like expected expenses coming up. They're all things that were relatively new. Our refrigerator's 2.5 or 3 years old.
There's no
Shouldn't
reason
have
for that
broken.
thing to break. Yeah.
My iPad was less than a year. It means like 6 months old, maybe.
Yeah.
It got stolen.
What's really interesting is that both of those things are such like convenience things. Like refrigeration. I mean, yeah, you need a refrigerator, but the reason I think it's weighing on our mind so much is because we use it every single day.
I don't think that's why it's weighing on my mind. It's weighing on mine
the same way.
It's weighing on my mind for two reasons. Not the cell phone so much, but the other things are, especially the refrigerator, it's way too new to be breaking.
Yeah.
It's way too expensive of an item to be just like willy-nilly replacing.
Yeah.
And then the thought of a part, because I know this exists, the thought of the part and the repair costing more than it would for us to just go and buy a new one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It really hurts my soul.
Yeah.
And I mean, to think that could go to the landfill, or it's just ridiculous.
Right.
I know how long it's taking people to get appliances right now. I know how much they're costing. I know what the supply chain looks like. And all of it is sickening to me that a refrigerator that we've had for less than 3 years could break to the point that it would be put in a trash pile, meanwhile people are waiting 14 weeks for a new refrigerator. It just, the whole thing is just very ridiculous. And so all these things are breaking are not things that we were expecting to have to pay for.
Sure.
And ultimately, I've had people DM me on Instagram and say, well, how are you continuing on with outdoor renovations? Because we're in the middle of a big outdoor renovation project right now,
right.
Which is costing a lot of money. And so their question is, if you're doing that, like most normal people, if these things come up with the iPad and the cell phone and all these things,
right.
you need to stop these outdoor projects in order to
focus on the ones that need to get paid for right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately the answer to that question is it's all paid for. We have the money to do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it hurt any less. For people with the financial outlook that we want to have, it's not about having the money or not having the money. It's about things shouldn't be breaking. Things shouldn't be getting stolen. Like, it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
And so, ultimately, it's not going to stop the project that we're doing, it just is a pain in the wallet. And what I wanted to get to ultimately, where we're going, with our lives, like what is our goal with what is the point in making money, right? Like why do we exist in this world?
A question you've been asking yourself a lot, I think, with your business.
Yeah.
I mean, more, I guess, looking at it from your business point of view, but.
Yeah. I mean, people will say, when you ultimately, where do you want to go with your business? Like, what do you want to be able to afford? And you know what I thought of the other day that I want to be able to afford? Braces for our kids. We have 4 children. Yeah. Braces ain't cheap. I would love to just be able to afford to put braces on our kids. Mm-hmm. I would love to be able to afford to send them to college, the benefit, or, whatever they want to do. If they don't want to, whatever. Yeah. I don't want to say to college. Whatever it is that they want to do. But be able to afford that so that whenever they graduate from, let's say it is college, they don't have the debt that
Sure.
so many Americans have that takes them decades to pay off so that they can start their life debt-free and get ahead.
Yeah.
I want to grow a business so that I can, what is her name? I can't think of what her name is. She's a African-American comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany Haddish. This is who it is. Tiffany Haddish. She is all about talking about generational wealth.
I was going to say, I think where you're heading with this is the generational wealth.
Yes. Generational wealth. Like, I want to be able to produce that for our children and for our grandchildren.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that's where I'm going. So you know how you get wealthy? You don't pay $100
yeah.
for the pool pump to get fixed when the pool just went in, or the pool pump just went in when we moved in 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like when you save pennies, you make what is the famous saying?
A penny saved is a penny earned.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
People go, oh, I know so-and-so, Liz, my mother-in-law, they got millions of dollars and they dress in like Walmart clothes. You know how she got her millions of dollars?
By shopping at Walmart.
That's right. Or wherever the cheap place is, thrift stores, all into that. And I have been my whole life.
We do that, though. We do that. I mean, everything that breaks for the most part. I would say one of the frustrations I have with the refrigerator is it's one of the first things in a very, very long time that I have not been able to fix on my own.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that we have both been conditioned where it's like, yeah, Thomas will just fix it.
Right. Something breaks, we'll figure it out. We'll make it, I'll fix it.
Yeah. Yeah,
the refrigerators, it's such a complicated system. Even your dad, who knows a lot about fixing machinery, when I was talking to him about fixing the refrigerator, he has fixed one of his refrigerator. Well, it's not really his. Someone gave it to them because it wasn't working.
Guess what, guys?
And he toyed around with it.
They take things off trash piles and they fix them, and that's how they've gotten money.
So anyway, he was saying that's the first refrigerator he's ever learned how to really fix by doing all the things that. And so he, it's kind of funny. He had just done that, and then our refrigerator breaks. So he has all these ideas for me to try.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for us, this is sort of another layer of their whole refrigerator saga, is that it's under warranty, and so I really can't start toying around with it. Now,
right.
If the guy comes here this week and tells us, oh, sorry, you're going to have to just toss it out, then okay.
Sure. Then
we're going to get to work on this thing. Yeah. So we're going to do all the things we got to do.
Tinkering with it. Yeah, and so, we've talked about that before in previous podcasts, that is how we deal with not having, you either have time or you've got money, but you usually don't have both, right? So generally you have learned how to do the hands-on things. I have learned how to do the hands-on things that we do for ourselves in order to save ourselves money on repairs and all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how you build, that's how you build wealth. If we were living our lives like a typical American does, and you were a school teacher and I was a small business owner, we would not, I don't know what we would be. We'd be living in, everybody lives in debt, right? We would all be living in major, major debt. And so we are trying to still live in those same parameters and be able to build a savings account and build wealth.
Right.
And so I think most people, when I was getting those DMs, I had to wrap my brain around where they were coming from.
Yeah.
Because where they were coming from is, okay, if you have the money to do the outdoor projects and you have the money to do things, what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
And it's like, ultimately, I'm not complaining. My Instagram is all about just showing people what we're going through,
this is our life. Here's what's going on.
Because I can tell you that ultimately I know that we are healthy and we are safe, and that is all that matters.
Sure.
That's it. But when it comes to money, I don't care that I have the money for it. We talked about that with vacation or buying whatever. Yeah. We don't buy things because we have the money to do them, or we don't go on vacation
just because.
It's not. Well, no, I was going to say it's not about we can't afford it, right? We've had that conversation before. Right. It's not about being able to afford it. It's about wanting to afford it.
Right.
And it's always frustrating to me when something breaks or fails that we put good, hard-earned money into, and then it fails before it should.
Yeah.
Or gets stolen, or whatever happens to it. And so I just thought that was worth talking about, how we look at things even though we can afford them.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of funny because although the pool was super expensive, what's the other thing that was super expensive? I feel like there's two. Anyway, the one
the flooring we're about to be putting in our outdoor space.
Although those were both really expensive, like thousands of dollars, the one that really, really chaps our hide is a refrigerator.
It's like $1,000 probably.
Yeah, and then an iPad that's $1,000. So, like, of all of the things, those are the two cheapest things.
Mm-hmm.
But like the super expensive things were kind of like, oh well, like we were the vacation and we were planning for those, whatever. Even though they're super expensive, but these two little things. And I know it's kind of relative, but they're cheap compared to the other two.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because they were unexpected. We weren't planning for them, Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it, too.
And we know we can't plan for everything.
You can't plan for someone to steal your stuff.
Sure.
And then you can't plan on appliances breaking down. And
after 2.5 years.
After having them for 2 years, right.
But I will say the other thing, too, is that, these things are split between a business expense and they're split between, in a personal expense.
Sure.
So the iPad's a business expense.
Right.
So I buy another iPad, but
it goes against your business's bottom line, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I mean, it hurts the same. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, it hurts nonetheless.
Right.
But luckily, we have kind of like two pots of money to pull it through. I mean, I don't know if that makes it any better or not.
Yeah, I don't know that it does. But I mean, at least mentally, it definitely doesn't. Mentally, I mean, it still carries the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm earning. Yeah, well, I'm earning the money. And the other thing, too, is just the stress and anxiety of having it on a list of things to do. Like, you feel like you're checking a list of things, right? And then when something else comes back, when you've completed something, like, check, got that iPad last year, like, bit the bullet, got the nice iPad Pro.
With all the accessories.
The Apple Pen, the screen cover. Like, I'm going to protect this thing. You get all this stuff. And then 6 months later, I got to do it all over again. And it's like, now it's back on my stress list of not only like was it taken, but also just the stress of like it's back on my to-do list, And the same thing goes for the pool. It's like we don't know why the pool's leaking. We know that it's losing water, and so you're thinking it's in the back of your head constantly.
Yeah, you thought it was checked off.
I just want to check it off.
It's done.
Yes.
Move on to the next thing.
Yes.
Now it's not done.
It just feels it feels like we can never completely check things off the box. Or check the box off the list, I guess I should say, where they're just done. And you don't have to maintain home ownership, you guys. We are living in a world right now where everybody wants to own a home. I don't know, is there like a homeowner organization or something like that? I'm sure there probably is. We're like,
we should have bought the home warranty that came with our house.
Oh gosh, don't get me started on that business. Someone asked me the other day if we had a home warranty, and I'm like, no.
Here's the thing, even if we did, so we would have a warranty on that refrigerator that broke that has a warranty. So
yeah,
it would have done us.
You should tell them how you used to work for a warranty place.
Oh my goodness! So that was fun. That did come up.
That has come up because someone asked me if we had a home warranty, and Thomas is like, "Those things aren't worth the paper that they're written on." You know what it was
when you called the company. They said, "Well, do you have an extended warranty?" And as soon as I heard that phrase, I was like, "Man, that takes me back."
No, we don't buy extended warranties.
So I think we've talked about this before. We've talked about all the different jobs I had as a kid growing up. One of them was I worked at a car warranty place. Like I didn't.
You weren't a salesman.
I wasn't a salesperson. But
you received complaints, I think, right? You were in the claims department.
They sold extended warranties. I was in the customer service.
Oh, I'm sorry, not
like
claims.
If you called the 1-800 number, you were getting me or one of the people that worked in my office. And I had this script that I followed, and it reminded me so much of when I was talking to this lady that worked for the warranty company.
You could just see her reading off that script.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing. What's your policy number? How long have you owned it? Do you have the receipt? Like all the basic questions. and then tell me what's wrong with it. Because I knew when I worked at that warranty place, when the old tell me what's wrong with it, well, the mechanic said it was this, and I knew. I knew what was covered and what wasn't covered. And so very rarely did I field a call that I actually sent to our claims department.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I was that first line of defense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If it was something that was covered, I would send them to claims, and then claims would handle them getting it fixed.
They would probably
but almost always it was this that was broken. Oh, sorry, that's not
we
covered.
We don't cover it. Shocking.
And so that's what I feel like is going to happen with this refrigerator. They're going to send a repair guy over after we haven't had a fridge for, at that point, it'll be like a week and a half. And he's going to show up, and he's going to look at 2 or 3 things. And, oh, sorry, I know you have the warranty, but this part that always breaks
is not under
the warranty. Because that's how it was with the car warranty.
Yeah, they only cover the things that probably will never break.
Yeah.
And they know it.
Yeah. So that is one of my worries, that when this guy shows up this week to take a look at the fridge, he's gonna find out what's wrong and tell us that it's not covered. And this whole time we could have just worked with some other local repair company that would.
And if you're thinking, look, if you guys aren't super worried about money and you want your refrigerator back, why don't you just pay a repair person to come and fix it? We tried. They won't work on this refrigerator because of the warranty issues, and they don't want to get sued. So it's a real mess. And so we don't want to dive into too many details about our appliance woes and all the other things that are going on, but just know that we have our priorities straight. We know what's important in life, and we're focusing on those. We have big goals, and sometimes it just feels like we're getting knocked back.
Yeah, and I think you put it right. I mean, when it rains, it pours. 2 of the things that we've spent money on recently, we were expecting to pay,
of course,
thousands of dollars for, and then these, right as we get back, or really while we were on the trip, the iPad gets stolen. The refrigerator breaks. The pool is leaking. It just like we came back and, we spent all this money, and we come back. It's like, hey, by the way, here's more stuff
to spend money on.
Had this, not that it would have been necessarily any better if it had happened a month or 2 from now.
It would have felt a little more spaced out, Although I don't know if that would have felt any better. Again, it comes back to the fact that it was relatively new stuff breaking or getting stolen, not old broken down. Like if we'd had a 20-year-old refrigerator and you knew it was on its last leg and it finally gave up the ghost, you'd be like, all right, it's time.
Yeah. Which is how our dryer is right now. Our dryer
don't even
cutting out.
Please do not even talk about the dryer. We love you, dryer. You're doing so good.
It is doing good. I think we fixed it.
You're doing so good, girl. You've been drying so well for probably 30 years now. I bought it used. I bought the washer and dryer used at various estate sales, I think, over time. And what's funny is I'm hearing now from people, oh, I hate my front loader washer and dryer. Like those were so popular. Do you remember that?
Everybody had the front load washer.
Yeah, they had their matching red or gray Samsung, like for whatever. All the buttons. So
generally, if you have more buttons and screens, it's a bad situation.
Good, y'all. Our refrigerator has, I don't even know how many computer chips in the back of it.
It has a huge motherboard on the back of it.
We don't need it. We do not need it, but it's like a car. Like you can't get around it anymore for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like our refrigerator connects Wi-Fi. Why? Why on earth do we need for our refrigerator to connect Wi-Fi?
I guess
it diagnoses itself, which by the way it didn't do.
It did not.
You press the diagnosis
you hit the
button.
Diagnosis. It says everything's good.
Yeah.
It's a little warm in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not.
That's
cooling.
the only error message, is that it was warm in the refrigerator. Keep the door closed is what it told me.
Oh man. Anyway. I was going to say, so back to home ownership. Everyone talks about how great home ownership is. I think that is some sort of like paid for by the American Homeowner Association or something, because they make home ownership sound so great. And I know a couple of people who are buying homes right now, and we started talking about it, and I said, well, have you started thinking about this and this and this? And they're like, no,
Yeah.
They make
I don't want to buy a house anymore. Thanks a lot.
Well, you make it sound like, oh, well, renting would cost me $1,000 a month, and buying this house will only be $800 a month. I'm saving. I'm like, well, there's property taxes and there's insurance,
there's a massive down payment.
Massive down payment you have to make, and you have to cut the yard, and you have to.
When stuff breaks, you have to fix it.
Right, like.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where all these glossy ideas about all this stuff come from.
Well, because then you feel like it's yours, I think. At the end of the day,
look, we would never do it.
Feel like it's your house.
I've never lived in an apartment. I've never lived in a rented. Well, I've lived in college, like.
But as an adult,
but it was on campus,
right?
Yeah, I've never lived in an independent apartment by myself, in adulthood.
Yeah,
and so I don't know that we would ever rent an apartment. I don't know if that's.
Maybe we would love it.
Maybe we would with 4 kids at this point in our life. No. Your aunt and uncle had an apartment as adults recently.
That might be okay for us, but our neighbors would hate us. Think about how many times that front door opened this morning.
Yeah.
Probably 50.
Yeah.
If we had neighbors above us, below us, next to us, that door constantly opening and closing and the kids yelling would not be pleasant for our neighbors in an apartment complex.
Yeah, absolutely not. Anyway, definitely if you're a person who is thinking that everybody else is buying a house, it must be a great idea. Let me do it too.
It's not.
Be practical.
It's for certain people, I guess we should say.
Yes, absolutely. I don't want anyone to think that something is for them just because everybody else is doing it or seemingly everyone else is doing it.
Right.
Just because you see it in the open doesn't mean that that's what everybody else is doing. It usually means that that's what the extremes are doing. Everybody else in the middle is just hanging tight.
Yep.
Being what they are.
They are not the squeaky wheels.
You only hear the squeaky wheels on the either side of a situation. So in case it wasn't clear, when I mentioned earlier that we were planning for these projects, that includes saving money for them, setting money aside.
Right. Well,
for
having a plan to save the money too.
Yes. Yes.
Not just saying, oh yeah, we're going to do this in the future, and then.
No, this is like we are setting aside X number of dollars.
Right.
From
because we know
paychecks.
It's going to cost X number of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that we can make both for the pool and for the vacation.
Yeah. In the outdoor space.
Even this vacation. We had talked about doing this for probably
2 years,
a few years. It feels like it's been a few years. When you first mentioned it, I forget where you had heard about it. Some friends, maybe
some of my mom's group friends.
And when you told me about it, I was like, man, that would be awesome. At the time, though, all of our kids were very young.
Yeah, like 4. I think the youngest was 4.
We would probably enjoy it, but I don't know that our kids are old enough to where they would get something out of it.
Yeah.
And I think we had forgotten about it for a couple of years, and for whatever reason, it came back up at some point, maybe last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided, let's do this thing. And
now the families that we went with are like, you guys going to come back next year? I was like, if you guys see us in Callaway, you will know, in 2021, you will know that my business did pretty well.
Your business had to have a really good year like it had last year.
Like real good. In order for that to happen. So we can't say yet. I think they go ahead and book their cabins as they're leaving.
Like their checkout?
Yeah,
they're checking out. Yeah. Can go in and book for next year.
Yeah. We can't plan that far. Not for a vacation.
Right.
And honestly, there might be something else that comes up that we want to do instead.
Sure.
I envy people who can do the same vacation 15 years in a row and be okay with it.
You can't do that?
I don't think so. I've thought about that. Like, how many years in a row could we do Callaway? But here's the thing.
I'll say this. I am a creature of habit. I probably could do, if I knew that was my scheduled vacation.
But it's your only one, guys. We don't take hardly any vacations ever. And if that, it'd be one thing if you took 3 or 4 weeks a year and did various different things and Callaway was your one consistent.
Right.
But if that's our only vacation that we take.
Sure.
For years and years and years.
You want it to be something different every time?
Not every time necessarily. Maybe on a 5-year rotation I could handle. But I don't think that I would want that to be my 1 week away every single year. Not because we didn't have fun, but just because
you start
to know what to expect. And I want to go do other stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. You guys bookmark this if you see us in Callaway next year. You'll be like, oh, Catherine did so good.
Yeah, she must have had a good year last year. She's back.
And we say that, of course, because, my business has the flexibility to increase and grow. You are on a salary and love your job. And love, what you're doing, football coaching and all that. So, But
if I became a better math teacher and football coach, I'm not getting paid.
You're not getting paid anymore.
A lot more than I got paid when I was not a good math teacher.
I'm kind
and
of
football coach.
the linchpin in the salary or the income situation here.
Right.
No pressure, except for that ultimately is the pressure is that, when things break and things, whatever, I'm like, oh, I got to do more landscape plans. Oh, yeah. I got to get
it. Broke. I need some more jobs.
Jeez. That's what it feels like for me. That's the pressure that I hold. So again, back to things
you'd put that pressure on yourself, but if you weren't doing that and our fridge broke, we would still get it fixed.
Yes, but I always put that stress on myself. And that's another thing, too, is that everyone makes business ownership sound real sexy. You guys, it's the most stressful thing, but I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, you could not work the 9. I mean, you just said you couldn't do the same vacation every year.
Oh my gosh. I really do think that we
do the same exact job every single day.
I think we talked about it before, but in 2019, my business was making $0. I had hired my first employee and I was basically working to pay him.
Right.
And at the end of the year, I cried because I said, I don't think I can go on anymore.
Yeah.
And
you thought you were going to have to let him go.
I thought I was going to
and then shut the doors.
Yeah, I was going to shut my doors. And I remember you said, so I'm crying at that point. And you said, it's okay, Cap. You can always go back to work. You can always get a 9-to-5 job.
That was your motivation.
And then I started crying more because there was the thought of that for me, like I will work 1,000 times harder to keep my own business and work for myself. It's not that I wouldn't work hard for somebody else. I just thought of it as...
Yeah.
So then I cried more and I got a fire lit under my rear end. And 2020 was a really good year. Yep. I know it was really rough on a whole lot of people, but it was very good to me. So I was able to hire another employee. We're doing great. And the thought of having a 9-to-5 really just keeps me going.
Yep.
Even when the refrigerator.
Every day when you wake up, you're like, you know what? I don't have to go to work for somebody today. Work for myself.
And therefore, I will do it.
And that just keeps you going.
Yeah. I mean, the generational wealth thing. The fact that I do have the flexibility to earn the what I earn is up to me.
Yeah.
I like that. Ultimately.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I like that.
That's not for everybody either.
No.
I don't know that I could do that. I mean,
do you think it'd be stressful, like the pressure of it, or what about it do you think that is not for you?
I'm very much a creature of habit, and so I would need to build those systems.
Yeah,
like I would have to build a lot of systems. Like for me right now, from August to May, I know exactly what my schedule is every single day. It's a system that's built for me, and so I can excel in that system because it's built, and I know I have 30 minutes to do this, and I'm going to hammer something out in 30 minutes, or you give me a task and you gave me, there are parameters to the task being done in a certain amount of time to a certain level of quality, and I can get it done. If I had to build all of those systems all myself, it's not that I couldn't do it, but I think I'd really struggle. I think I'd struggle with that a lot until I got all of those systems built, and unfortunately, the experience of having to go through that would probably make me quit.
Yeah, because you work hard. You're a very hard worker.
Yeah,
and you're dedicated to whatever it is you decide you're going to do.
The other thing too is, experience. I would fail a lot doing. You failed a lot too as you go through your business.
You act like it's over. You failed. You're never going to fail again.
I think that the failure would have been too much of a discouraging thing.
Oh my gosh.
That I would have just gone back to. Just give me my regular schedule so that I can be successful again.
Yeah. I'm also a big process person. I don't know if you are or not, but I don't thrive on the goal at the end. I thrive on the process to get there.
Yeah.
Like I like to climb the mountain. I don't really care about when I'm at the top of the mountain because there's another mountain for me to climb.
Yeah. You just like climbing.
I like climbing. Yeah.
I would say I'm the same way.
You would.
Yeah. I don't, as a coach, whether we win or lose games, I'm kind of just like, meh, let's get to practice.
Don't tell your kids that, guys. Whether we win or lose today, let's go back and do some more practice.
On Monday. Let's go.
All right, guys. So that's our chit chat for today. Hopefully, you guys have a better picture of how we kind of form things up. What stresses us out? What's all going over here at Casa de Aaronsburg? Because I think it's good to talk about it, and I think that we're gonna be fine, you guys. Everything's gonna be fine. This too shall pass.
Yep.
If you guys listen to previous episodes, this too shall pass. It's going to be okay. It's just always like little bitty setbacks that feel gigantic when they mount into 4 or 5, 6 things all at one time.
All at the same time.
Yeah. It feels like a lot. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at buildingaaronsburg@gmail.com. You can send us a message on Facebook or on Instagram at Building Aaronsburg. And until next time, bye y'all.
Bye y'all.